Welcome, book readers. Welcome to BrailleDash Reads. If you are new to this channel, well then grab a cup of coffee, tea, or a pumpkin spice latte and join me on this reading journey. Today's story is going to be The Pumpkin Spice Café by Laurie Gilmore. Okay, I'm a character now. Story begins with Jeannie. She's in the big city, but she no longer wants to stay there because her boss had just recently died from all the stress of a city life. So she decides to move to this small town where her aunt owns a pumpkin spice cafe. And of course, naturally, they specialize in matcha lattes. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Obviously, the shop is called the Pumpkin Spice Café, so they specialize in pumpkin spice lattes. There she meets a small town farmer boy. His name's Logan. He seems to have a troubled past. You don't really know too much about him yet, but instantly she's just attraction is there. Logan takes a look at her and same thing, attraction. Logan has a whole story of his own. So he's a troubled boy who lives in the small town that everybody just feels bad for. They pity him because in his previous relationship, his girlfriend used to be a big city girl who came to this small town trying to find herself and trying to figure out what she wanted to do with her life. And she just wanted to have some fun. So naturally, Logan thinks that's a great idea to go for. And he goes out with her. They somewhat become serious. I forget how long they were together, but he ends up proposing to her in front of everybody in town, and she says no. So now he no longer trusts any girl, much less a big city girl. And just instant attraction between the two of them. They look at each other's eyes and zing, it happens. They fall in love with each other. They both try to resist the attraction between one another because Jeannie, she's not sure if she likes this small town life, and she's too new to all of this, and she doesn't want a serious relationship. And Logan, on the other hand, he's come out a bad relationship, and he just can't picture himself being with another girl, much less a girl from a big city town. So this conflict arises where they like each other, instant attraction, but they can't be together. So, to explain the rest of the story, they just try to avoid each other. They spend time together. At one point of the story, I become very intrigued with the plot because suddenly Jeannie is hearing these weird sounds in the cafe. She lives in the upstairs room, so, she hears things downstairs. It's this weird scratching sound, these weird noises. And one way or another, Logan gets tasked to stay overnight with her and just figure out what is this. I was interested because I didn't know going in what the story was about. If I would have known it was going to be a Hallmark movie-esque kind of book, I would have thought twice about it. But because I went in blind, not knowing what to expect, silly me, was expecting a sort of supernatural element. So when Jeannie was saying she was hearing these weird sounds and, these weird noises were coming from outside and she swears it's a ghost and Logan's there with her, she's just, she's convinced it's something supernatural. So it convinced me it was something supernatural. But then here you have Logan denying it. There's no such thing as ghosts. It can't happen, which again kind of reinforced my idea of, oh, maybe it is a ghost. Where's the story going? Turns out it was a cat. So it's just the cat. They end up calling the cat Casper. Cute little detail to throw into the story. After that, the story just it's a slow burn. If you've seen a Hallmark movie, picture that in a book form. So you're just kind of getting these two characters getting to know each other. We pretty much know everything to know one another, right? We already know Logan has these abandonment issues. He's sure Jeannie's going to leave if he tries anything with her. Jeannie's unsure if she wants to be with Logan because she's not sure if she wants to stay in this small town. So it's just that conflict between the two. Do they want to be together? Do they not want to be together? Will they risk it? Will they not risk it? And it's just a lot of that throughout the story. Jeannie goes to his house at one point. Logan goes to get coffee. There's a point, mind you, Logan has lived in this town his entire life. He knows everything about it. It's a small town. They really emphasize that small towns, everybody knows everything about each other, and everything's pretty much routine. And yet there's a point when Logan goes into the cafe on Wednesday, which turns out to be the book club day for all the women in the town to get together. And naturally, he's just freaking out. He's like, oh my God, I completely forgot they do this every Wednesday since I was a child. So, that kind of threw me out of the book a little because I was like, really, you forgot that every Wednesday these women get together, they gossip and they talk about books, and the books they read are very scandalous kind of books, right? So it's just silly to me because, Logan goes in there, he doesn't want it to be obvious that he likes Jeannie and he never goes out. So the fact that he goes out this one day, the perfect day where everybody's there who love the gossip, it just that happens. Soon enough, these two get together. They decide to keep it a secret, but as the story goes along, eventually Jeannie no longer likes this arrangement. She wants to be public. She wants him to show her off in front of everybody. And Logan is still conflicted with the idea of, wanting people to know about this because, again, his ex, she made a scene, she rejected him during his proposal in front of everybody, so he doesn't want to do it. And of course, Jeannie eventually she decides, no, I no longer want to do this. Let's just be friends. And that's when Logan has to make the biggest decision and he decides, fine, we'll make it public. So they make it public and everybody in the town knows that they're dating. After that all happens, then we get the biggest moment of the book, the fall festival. I won't lie, when I found out this was going to be a Hallmark-esque kind of book, this is what I was waiting for. I wanted to wait for this big, drastic, disastrous moment, the fall festival. What's going to happen? It's very similar to a bunch of books, a lot of romance kind of stories that follow this kind of pattern of the Hallmark movies. So we get the festival, and surprisingly, nothing happens. Everything goes smoothly. They judge the costume contest. They're at their stand giving out lattes and, all their little things from the cafes, the little breads and stuff. And things go well. Where things do go wrong is that night of the fall festival. So after it's all over, they spend the night together. It was very tamed. It was a very PG-13 kind of reading. It wasn't too descriptive. It wasn't very explicit. It was very tamed. That's how I would describe it. It's a tamed reading for that kind of, thing going on. So they do that. Night's over. Next day, Jeannie goes, she takes a shower. While she's doing that, Logan goes into the kitchen and he sees a bunch of realtor papers on the table. Earlier in the book, Jeannie was considering giving up the cafe and just getting the money from what it sold and, moving and making a new life for herself. But this was before she decided to go through with dating Logan. So she no longer wants to do that, obviously. But Logan sees these papers. He sees that she's marked some of them. She's obviously like doodled on them. So she clearly took this into consideration. And rather than doing a healthy thing and confronting Jeannie about it and asking her, hey, are you thinking about moving or, what's going on here? Did you not like it here anymore? Rather than doing that, he just kind of throws a whole fit. I kind of expected Jeannie to do this, not Logan, but Logan's the one who does it. He goes, he tells Jeannie, hey, you're leaving. I can't believe it. You just wanted to play with me. Nothing between us was serious. Jeannie's over here trying to explain herself, hey, it's not what you think. That's not what's going on. But, of course, Logan's just like, no, I don't believe it. And he just leaves. He storms out. And she's upset too. She's like, he doesn't want to listen to me. I'm over it. And she's done too. I only say that I expected Jeannie to do it just because a lot of Hallmark movies tend to portray the women as the more dramatic, unreasonable one. But in this book, author did a twist and, tables turned. It's actually Logan doing this little scene. So that's what happens. That's the big drastic disaster moment of the story. Would I say I was disappointed? I don't know. I mean, it wasn't what I was expecting. I figured something at the festival would happen. So, that took me off guard. That took me by surprise. So them actually spending the night together and then this scene going on, that was a nice turn of events, I suppose. But again, I saw it coming at some point, right? I just didn't expect it was going to be so quick, just so unreasonable, right? Because if Logan would have just cooled down for a minute and just, talked with her, he would have realized that she was considering moving, but that was before they became serious. So it could have been avoided. I feel like I'm judging too much because a lot of things could have been avoided in a lot of Hallmark kind of movies. So, I think I'm just overjudging here. So let's just scratch that all out. So moving forward from that, we go back to Logan just trying to adjust to this life now that Jeannie's no longer in his life. He's avoiding her. Jeannie, you don't really know what's going on with her because Logan's avoiding her and you're getting Logan's perspective after this whole disaster goes down. So I was curious, like, where's Jeannie going with this? Is she gonna stay there? Is she gonna leave? Eventually, we finally get Jeannie's point of view. We find out that the person who was harassing her throughout the whole story, I forgot to mention that in the beginning, but there's somebody harassing her throughout the story. She's trying to figure out who it is. She finds out it's, one of the employees that was really close with the aunt. Oh, why did he do this? I don't know. They explain it later. He was just tired and he wanted the cafe. He was upset that the aunt left because he loved her. And yeah, just, a lot of that going on with Jeannie's side of the story. But Logan's trying to figure out what's going on, right? He talks to his friend. His friend tells him, like, hey, dude, you're just scared, after, your ex, you don't trust and you got to trust people again. Jeannie's a good person. She's a cool girl. And, you really loved her. Everyone could tell from the moment you guys met. It was just instant love at first sight. And eventually Logan's like, yeah, you're right. I screwed up. I'm going to go fight back for her. So the story ends with Logan going back to the cafe. Jeannie's managed to figure out what to do with it now that she doesn't have all her employees there anymore. The guy that she had to let go, or technically he quit, so he actually took the jump there. So when he quits, she was left with having to run the whole cafe by herself, and she had to hire more people, and it was just so stressful. She thought about leaving, but again, it's such a quick moment in the story that I didn't think for a second that she would end up leaving. Yes, she did mention that she was overwhelmed with it and she might leave. But again, it was just maybe like a paragraph or two, then boop, we just go back to the story. And, obviously she's not leaving, right? So Logan goes into the cafe. Everybody in town's there. And he just goes up to the counter and he tells Jeannie, I love you. I want to be with you. I don't care who knows. You're the love of my life. So I want to spend my life with you. And of course, Jeannie's like, oh my God, he's, telling everybody. He's making it public. He's making it known that he does love me. And it kind of solves all their problems. Everything's resolved. That whole little scene that he threw, just throwing his little tantrum about, her possibly moving. But again, she wasn't because he didn't talk to her. All of that was just resolved. None of that was an issue. Jeannie's like, okay, you know what? I do want to be with you, but hey, let's go talk in the back. So they go to the back room. They discuss things together. We have to work with each other. Jeannie tells him she wants to stay there. Logan's like, I want to be with you. I need to work on myself. And they kiss. The friend sees this. He goes back out. He tells everybody, oh my God, yeah, they're together. They're a thing. And everybody starts cheering. And that's the end of the book.
Logan came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. She leaned into him, and he couldn't agree more. Everything was better in Dream Harbor with Jeannie by his side.
That's how it ends. There is an epilogue. I did find a tad bit disappointing because it was just Jeannie unpacking. I know that from the beginning of the book, she never unpacked, which was another insecurity Logan had, was that Jeannie never unpacked her stuff after she moved to a small town. But in Jeannie's defense, she had very good excuses, is that she was very busy with the cafe, right? She didn't have time to unpack. And I'm sure a part of her was unsure if she wanted to unpack because it would be easy just to leave without unpacking. But, reasons were justified. She was too busy. And eventually she became even more busy because she didn't have employees. She had to run it by herself. She had a friend helping. So, it made sense. So the fact that the epilogue was her unpacking, it was a cool little wrap up, just kind of summarizing like, oh, she finally has the time to unpack. And I know it's supposed to be symbolic for her finally adjusting and accepting this new life of hers. But I wanted to see a little more. I've read a lot of romance novels, and a lot of them kind of give you time jumps. Oh, 5 years from now, a year from now, 10 years from now. And it kind of shows their story later, like what happens after. Yes, I know that these two are together at the end of the book, right? Not before the epilogue. You know they're together. They decide to give themselves a chance, but it's love at first sight. It was instant attraction. So you know they're going to stay together. It's not like they're going to break up at any point. So the epilogue, I was kind of hoping for a time jump, maybe 5 years later, 10 years later, even a year later, from how quickly things developed in the story. I was hoping to see, Jeannie and Logan living together, having their own place, maybe engaged, married, maybe with a kid. I don't know, just showing that they both adjusted to the small town and they were living life as normal. Jeannie adjusted to this new life of hers, and Logan adjusted to, finally having someone stable and serious in his life who he wanted to spend his life with. And again, you had that whole story of his ex rejecting the proposal. So I was hoping for, Jeannie having an engagement ring, saying like, oh yeah, we're engaged, or I accepted the proposal, rather than his ex who declined, right? So I don't know. It was, again, very symbolic kind of ending where, oh, she finally unpacks, she accepts it. I just wanted to see a little more, and I wanted to see further down the line, see where life took them. They did mention briefly in the epilogue that Logan was going to therapy. He was trying to adjust to this whole abandonment kind of mindset, which is cool. I did like that. That was a fun aspect to kind of bring to everyone's attention, because that was basically what happened, right? Is that Jeannie was unsure of a big city life, and Logan was fearful of abandonment because of his previous relationship, right? So it tied it up really nicely with that statement saying that he was going to therapy. But that was pretty much it. I wasn't very satisfied with that kind of ending, because that she was going to stay there, right? We knew they were going to stay together, but I wanted to see more. Maybe that's me being a little particular. I'm being a little picky with the ending. I'm curious what you guys thought. If you could put it down in the comments, if you thought the ending was satisfying and it was a good wrap up to everything. But, just my opinion, it kind of fell flat for me. There was a chapter. So let me go back. When I finished the book, I went to check out and see what people thought about it. And everybody was saying that, oh, it was a spicy book. It was very fun to read, very sweet, very romantic. But what caught my attention was the spicy part. I've read spicy books before, and, I it it's a particular kind of mood that when you're reading this kind of spice, it gives that kind of energy, I guess you could say. So when I saw that people were saying this was a spicy book, I was a little confused, because yes, they give the moment when they spend the night together for the first time after the fall festival. And then after they get together at the end, when Logan confesses his love in front of the whole cafe, there is an entire chapter, I believe it's chapter 31, that focuses strictly on their intimate relationship, right? But even that whole chapter wasn't very spicy, in my opinion. It was very, again, like I said earlier, it was very tamed. So I wouldn't consider this a spicy book. So for anybody who's, coming into this and like, oh, I want to read it because it's spicy, it's, I would not consider it spicy. If I had to rate it out of 5, I would say the spice level was maybe a 2, possibly. Again, it was very tamed. Like, I for a, high school at this point, I think high school age, it's tamed enough, right? If you've read Twilight, you probably know they've written some stuff already. So high schoolers are not oblivious to this kind of stuff. But other than that, that's pretty much it. That was all of the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Again, I don't feel like much was going on in the story, and it was very Hallmark esque, very Hallmark theme kind of book. So if you're into that, you would really enjoy this book. Me, I enjoy romance. I don't like it being so cheesy and very, again, Hallmark. I can't say it enough where it comes off as a Hallmark kind of movie. So I don't enjoy those in particular. I do enjoy romance. Don't get me wrong. I do like romance, cheesy stuff, very cliche kind of things. It's cute, it's sweet, but this one just it heavily relied on that aspect to the point where nothing really happened in the book, in my opinion. Again, if you've read this, feel free to argue with me. Give me some examples of maybe there was context that I just overlooked. Maybe I just wasn't, paying much attention. Or if you agree with me, not much was going on in the story aside from Jeannie and Logan, wanting to be together but not being together. Them, being in a small town, trying to avoid each other, trying to resist the urge to be together, and then, climax, right? We have the rest of the story going on. So if I had to rate this book, I would give it a 2 out of 5. I've read romance. Again, I'm not against this kind of stuff. It's just I've read books that did it in a way where there was still a plot to it. There was still events going on. There was more characters to work with. This one, it felt very flat for that, in my opinion. You got Janie and Logan, and then you got supporting characters, but they were very flat characters. Not much was going on with them. Yes, they were best friends of his. Some of the friends were attracted to one another, but it wasn't much. It was just that, people in the background who were friends with these two protagonists. Other romance I've read have romance and they have supporting characters, but the supporting characters have their own stories too. There's stories going on in the background. You got subplots going on, and that's what I like when I read a romance book. I like that there's that cliche kind of romance where, oh, instant attraction, love at first sight, but then there's also things going on in the background that are affecting these two characters. So my opinion, again, I know this was a very popular book at the time. I could see why. I understand why. I won't argue with that. It was a good read if you like this kind of theme. Just me personally, I just didn't enjoy it as much. I feel like I'm going to have some people arguing with me, but you know what? I like to see other people's opinions. Again, maybe I missed something. Maybe there's more to it. Or you know what? I might even have people who agree with me. So leave it down in the comments what you think about this story. As always, thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe. That way you get notified when I upload more book reviews. Other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next chapter. I would like to thank Lewis for narrating the voice of Logan in my video. Lewis has a channel called A Modern Medieval Monarchy. He has some videos over there uploaded that are really cool and fun to watch. Check it out. Do you like reading? Are you writing your own book right now, or have you already published one? Check out my Patreon and talk to others just like you. Also check out my other channel, BrailleDash Reads, where you will find reviews for books I have read, and you will also find some content from the book club. The links to both will be in the description below.